It's my duty to please the booty.
And Muzz got mad at me, the coach, and he goes, Jesus Christ, why don't you just work 2 nights? And I went, okay.
I'll switch the call.
Please never do that.
Yep. So.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 509 of Spittin Chiclets, presented by Pink Whitney from our friends at New Amsterdam Vodka here in the Barstool Sports podcast family. What the hell is going on, everyone? The Stanley Cup Final looked dead a week ago. We got a slobber knocker going on right now. Biz, I'm going to see you in Edmonton a little later, but boys, let's check in first. Ryan Whitney, the Wit Dog. How goes it, my friend? You must be off the fucking wall right now.
Oilers.
Biz, all I needed from you was that lock of the century. Panthers are shutting it down tonight. It's insane. It's like a clock strikes midnight or 12, twice a day. No matter what, you're wrong in the playoffs. It's amazing to be a part of. Quickly, though, this episode is presented to you by Pink Whitney, New Amsterdam's own Pink Whitney vodka. Take your shot with Pink Whitney. And what I say, the Pink Whitney was flowing in Edmonton, then it was flowing in Florida. Now it's flowing back. We're dragging that Pink Whitney back to Alberta. So thank you so much to everyone who gets involved. Go grab the 1.75 liter bottle. That's the Big Daddy. That's the champ. That's the ultimate one you want. So New Amsterdam's own Pink Whitney vodka. Thank you very much, Pink Whitney. Wow, guys. Wow. I mean, there's a long way to go. There's a long way to go. They still got to win 2 more games. But if you think that there isn't a big old dump in a lot of Panthers fans' pants right now, you're lying to yourself, because what we just witnessed.
They can't take a dump. Their arseholes are puckered up this fucking tight.
They're constipated.
They're coming out like spaghetti strings.
I just think of your buddy that I met in Edmonton that flew about 30 hours just to see the Stanley Cup in Game 4 for his Florida Panthers on the road. And he's like, that's all right after the game. We'll get it done Game 5. Whoa, Ross, what are you doing now, buddy?
Ross.
Because what has happened is Sergei Bobrovsky all of a sudden can't save a beach ball. I believe since the 3rd period of Game 3, he's sporting around a .760 save percentage.
That's correct.
And with that, 756. So
that's like RA at the ball hockey tournament, year 1 at Chiclets Cup.
We still won.
And they still got it done. But guys, I couldn't get over. Forget the outcome. And I mentioned this on the video I made. One of the most entertaining hockey games I've ever seen in my life. And I would have said that if the Oilers lost. Like, it was just that second period I felt like it was an entire game. Like, waiting for the 3rd period to start, I'm like, how is there more hockey to be played? It was just an honor, I'll say, to get to watch that game and my favorite team be a part of that game. And now, listen, Connor Mcdavid, what else can be said about this guy, you guys?
Unreal.
Like, this is now becoming beyond what we've said before about him. Like, he's doing things that have never been done. He's breaking records people thought would never be touched. And he's dragging his team back to Alberta for a Game 6.
Do you take back your Barkov take, Biz?
Oh, yeah, buddy. Every fucking take I've had is getting the Mongolian reversal right now. I love it. This is so good. And boys, like, we were in shambles after Game 4 because we just got sucked in by the celebration, and we kind of had this tone, like, and I felt the same thing like Ross. I thought it was going to go back to Florida. They were going to dial things back in, and then all of a sudden they were going to finish things off at home. But we got sucked into the vortex of the mega church. We celebrated. We thought it was going to be an unbelievable send-off for those Edmonton fans that deserved it on an unbelievable season. And like you said, Whit, and Matthew Tkachuk's quote, of, you know, we set out to do something and we're going to accomplish that in Game 5. Well,
we're going to go do that, I believe, is what
we're going to go do that. But
now, in fairness, it wasn't. He played his balls off that game.
He had a beautiful goal and an apple setting out Oliver Ekman-Larsson. But boys, like you said, Connor McDavid, not to be outdone.
Yeah, he was absolutely incredible. And wait, you just mentioned the stats. We'll rattle off a couple of them here. List of players with multiple 4-point games in Stanley Cup Final history. Wayne Gretzky, Connor McDavid. List of players with consecutive 4-goal games in Stanley Cup Final history. Connor McDavid. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. He's 5 points back from tying Gretzky all time. I know a couple more games it's going to take him, but what he's doing is unbelievable. And I was talking to, I guess we're going to bring on a little bit, Brett Kissel. I says, as great as he was in the previous game, he didn't really have, like, I don't think that signature moment like that. One thing you're going to watch 30 years on a highlight reel and see it. And we got that night. I mean, when he went through Florida like a hot knife through butter, set up Perry. And Corey Perry's been around for 100 years. And to see the stunned look on his face after that pass, that's just indicative of how good of a pass that was right there.
Oh, right? Fucking nasty. That was not. Did you guys see the exchange between like Darnell Nurse and Corey Perry on the bench saying like, who's going here, who's going? And then Perry ends up jumping on and going and getting the job done there.
Wait, Nurse, did you say?
I think that him and Nurse were like looking at each other on the bench. I don't know if it was one of the commentators who mentioned it. Either way, they were sitting on the bench, kind of like, who's going to hop over the boards here? Maybe it was not Nurse. Obviously, you're probably confused because that's a D and a forward.
Well,
but
not in Merle's world.
Well, I was to say Merle's might have been coaching that night.
But he hops off the bench, fresh legs, and he just goes to the net, free tap in, and he's like, holy fuck, what a shift by me.
But another thing for me is that the question marks and the chirps and the getting benched that Stuart Skinner has gone through, I mean, the second period, like I bring up, Florida had it going. They were flying, and he made big save after big save. Even I thought the beginning of the game where I mentioned on our pregame show that I think the Panthers would come out flying, like this is our night, this is it to end it. They did have a good, I'd say, first 8 to 10 minutes. I thought Florida was good. Edmonton wasn't bad either, and Florida could have been even better, but they weren't bad, and Skinner made a couple big saves. Now, for me, I was worried. First shift, Janmark had a great chance, and Bob robbed him. And I was like, all right, well, we could get the Bobrovsky that I'm petrified of, and this thing could be really difficult to win. But the will with Edmonton's group and like how close they are, and now all Panthers fans are saying, and they're totally correct, we got to get one. We got to get one of two. It's totally reasonable to think Florida still wins this series. And momentum in this series and in the playoffs doesn't really go game to game. But being in the mega church, I can't imagine that scene. Now, Biz, you're back in Edmonton.
Yeah,
which is just how did you get back there?
So I had a buddy, Jesse, who when we went to Game 5 in Florida, Dustin Johnson's box was available because he's playing at the Live Tour in Nashville, I want to say. Even Wayne's there right now. So Ty and Trevor were there, and they sent me the text invite. And then there was a guy, Jesse, who he owns this heavy metals equipment and rentals, and he's got a sick jet. Like I think he bought it off some Russian guy, and this thing just zips across, flies up to an altitude where like you're basically traveling at the fucking speed of sound, I'd imagine. So we got back to Edmonton. We left at 4:30 in the morning after that Game 5 and ended up getting to town around 9:30. So shout out to Jesse, a huge push there. But going back to the game, you said it, not a terrible start for Florida, but like they get that fucking power play and Montour. Like I would say it's fair to say he's maybe played himself out of a little bit of money this offseason. And I think I think it's made Zito's job a little bit more difficult if in fact he does want to bring him back with the contracts that they have to hand out, like Sam Reinhart. So they draw that penalty, they get the power play, perfect way to get on the board. And Army talked about how important it was for the Edmonton Oilers to not only score first, but also get a power play goal. They did both on the first 2 goals they had. And not enough can be said about what the bottom 6 forwards have done in the last 3 games for the Edmonton Oilers between all of them. And I think leading the way right now, and fan favorite and my favorite, Connor Brown. He just makes that stick on puck play. And it wasn't just that. Barkov was that last D-man back on the other side. So not only is he's beat him to that puck, Barkov has that long reach and he's strong on a stick. Connor Brown knocks it away and pokes it to himself just a little bit ahead. And once again, just like on the play he made in Game 4, where he had that little bit of extra patience around the pad to slide it over to the middle of the net to get it poked in. I think it was Janmark who might have had that one. Maybe it was McLeod. I forget who it was. It was Janmark. But this one, he outweights Bob and he just slides it in and actually nicks Bob's skate that fucking close from getting the stop. So just a remarkable effort on a kill where Florida could have took control of the game, where they needed a play and they needed a moment to settle things down for Edmonton, and they got it from Connor Brown. So just an unbelievable job. Like I said, it's kind of like the turn of the tide, where Bob, since that period of time, when he shit the bed with that save percentage you mentioned, and what was it, third period of game 3?
Yeah, since the start of third period. Yeah, sorry.
Look at the no worries, RA. Look at the stats for the bottom 6 for the Edmonton Oilers since that period. They've been lighting it up. I would say at least each of them have at least 2 points at this point. So it's just unbelievable to see. And then obviously later in that period, they get that power play, and it's the second and third retrievals for that power play that make it so special. They work hard. They get the initial shot. It ain't a one and done. They get it back. I think it was Nugent Hopkins behind the net. It ends up going back up top for the Boosh bomb. And listen, like, Forsling has been incredible this playoffs, but considering they get him hemmed in, and you're going to see a few shifts if you go back and look at all the goals, it looks like they're fucking wearing him down a little bit. Like, he's had a lot of very difficult matchups, obviously having to play against McDavid. And then all of a sudden on that penalty kill, he ends up in that net front battle. And then, Hyman ends up tipping it in. I think it does end up going off his leg, but nonetheless, go to the blue paint, and they got that 2-0 lead. And that really calmed things down. Like, to me, for the Edmonton Oilers, they had full control after that, and they didn't really look back.
Yeah, we'll go into the third in a minute, but I think there's something crazy about this Oilers team that does give me a lot of confidence in at least getting back to Florida, and it's they really have slowly figured teams out in the playoffs. Now, LA is a different story. They were a way better team. It was a pretty easy series. But after that, Vancouver, they're down 3-2. They lost the first game. Dallas, they're down 2-1. They've somehow been able to, as the series goes along, really find their legs, find their game, figure out other teams and how they're playing. And these stats right here, and everyone could kind of see this if you're watching Edmonton throughout this spring and summer, but the stats are wild. In games 1 through 3 of the series, the Oilers are 4-8. Games 4 through 7, they're 10-1. Their goals for per game go from 3.25 in games 1 through 3 to 3.73. Their goals against go from 3.58 to 1.73. And their shooting percentage goes from 10 to 15.8. So it's like something within this team, and maybe it's the fact that it takes them a little while to figure out systems, to figure out how to break the other team's penalty kill and all the things that go into a long series. They've just mastered, like, games 4 through 7, dude. They're a different team, and they somehow get to teams and get in their heads where, like, we've figured you out. McDavid at this point, like, we were looking for more, right? There's no goals by McDavid going into game 4. He's been good, but he hasn't been great. Buddy, the last 2 games, I think it's been 2 of the best games of his career. Every time he gets the puck, he's dangerous. So you're talking about Forsling, as good as he's been, amazing contract, awesome player. Like, he can't handle Connor McDavid at top Mach fucking 17 speed. Nobody can. There's no defenseman that can. So when he's going like this, and he's got the confidence, and he's so driven to bring a Stanley Cup to this city, that you're seeing true greatness. We're witnessing something that in 50 years you'll remember. And if they somehow come back and win this series, like Red Sox, Yankees in 2004, like, this is the top 3 comeback in the history of sports.
I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
And it's crazy because Florida needs one more. They need one of 4. But if anyone could do this, you guys, if anyone in the world of sports could do this, it's Connor McDavid. And I'm just amazed watching him play right now. He's dragging this team around, and other guys are doing their job. That line they've put together of Henrique, Janmark, however you say it, and Connor Brown, like that is their third line now. That was the fourth line. And all of a sudden, these guys are just bringing it every single night. You got Perry scoring a big goal on a tap-in where he said, like, yeah, I just went to the net with my head down. He goes, I didn't even say a word. Like, guys like McDavid, you don't have to yell you're open. They see you. And it's been wild to watch. But going back to the third period, Biz, when you said they had control, my wife doesn't really watch hockey. She hears me talk about, like, McDavid or different things going on, but she never watches. But she was watching that game. And she's like, at 4-1, she's like, they got it. I was like, what did you just say? This game's far from over. I knew it. And then it was 4-2. And then I tweeted out before the third period, all right, 20 minutes of panic, folks. Like, just get ready. Like, this is going to be one of those things. And Ekman-Larsson scores a beauty. Ekman-Larsson has now taken over the number one spot on the PP for Montour. Montour's been brutal. Like, say what you want. He has not been good. And Ekman-Larsson looks great. He looks like 8 years ago, Biz. The way he's walking the line, he gets that goal. There isn't an Oilers fan in the world that didn't think they were tied
I thought that was getting tied up for sure.
I go, this is going overtime. Like, this is going OT. And they were able to just fucking work them. They were able to block a ton of shots. They chipped a ton of pucks out. They played on the defensive side. Every single guy did their job. And boom, McDavid gets that empty netter. But you didn't have any scare, or did you have a scare like me on the post by Janmark?
Yeah, well, there was, yes, I got the Nashville vibes. I forget who it was on Nashville. Colton Sissons, who ended up hitting the post. I was getting those vibes. I said it in the box, but they ended up holding on. I forget who it was for Florida, but they did have a pretty good crack within the last like 2.5 minutes to tie that game. And they were. Maybe. Maybe it was Ekblad, but I know we're bouncing around quite a bit. I want to go back to that third line you just mentioned for the Oilers, though, and the fact that, like, my understanding is Evander Kane was trying to play through that injury, and he was getting shot up so much to the point where they had to shut him down. And they said, hey, this is not going to work. And to me, not because, like, obviously he's trying to get out there and play for his team and play through pain, which a lot of guys in playoffs do, but we saw it with our own eyes. He just wasn't having that impact that we're used to seeing from Evander Kane, especially not even close to where he was 2 years ago. So the fact that they've been able to assemble that line and get that pace brought up to that level to match the first two lines, to me, that has been a major, major factor in change in this series, especially at the depth that the Florida Panthers have. So going back to Florida, okay, because we've talked a lot about Edmonton, and we can go back to Edmonton. We've talked about Bob. We haven't talked about Bill Zito after the game throwing that water bottle and the fact that the seed of doubt has been planted. To me, this is...
I kind of love this, though.
I love it, but it also shows a sign of pure frustration. Now, other rumblings we're hearing inside the team and just the rumor mill following this series along is the fact that in Game 4, getting all the family for Florida here, getting all the tickets assembled, and everybody was a bit of a gong show in a sense of taking a lot of wind out of their sails from their attention to detail aspect. Obviously, they get mopped with the floor, and then a little bit of issue on travel going back to Florida, and then still a little bit of chaos. Obviously,
there was issue on the way back too.
My understanding is there was a little bit of complaining at the fact of how bad the travel was, and it was like getting to the players. I'm not going to say that it was some of the wives. I'm not going to create any rumors here, but at the end of the day, it's like, holy fuck, man, we haven't closed out this series yet. Yeah. We need no distraction. So you go back home. All of a sudden, the idea of closing out at home, having everybody there, obviously you have to worry about tickets and family again. I talked to Mark Messier after that Game 4, and he goes, oh, not so close. He goes, Game 5 at home when you're up 3-1 in the series is the hardest game to win. He says even more distracting than the situation coming to Edmonton to close out in 4. So when you got Mark Messier telling you that, you're like, oh, geez, maybe I regret my comment saying this thing's over. Not really, because I'm the ultimate mush. But now my understanding is it's a tight-knit group coming over to Edmonton. There's no bullshit, even to the point where I was talking to some guys who are scouts in the organization where they're saying, no, they've really limited the amount of people that are going. This is going to be strictly a business trip. And like Mcdavid said, they're getting dragged back to Alberta, which will go down as an iconic quote if they end up winning this series. It'll be painted on every side of every fucking building here in Edmonton if they end up coming back and winning this series. The other component to tire pump a little bit, Evan Rodriguez and Matthew Tkachuk, those are the two best players, in my opinion, up front for the Florida Panthers in that game. Going back to Tkachuk's goal, the play that Rodriguez makes on the wall just inside the offensive zone to keep it alive. And boys, like, a lot of pressure on Tkachuk coming into this one, putting it on himself with that quote. And to show up and have that type of performance, along with that move he makes below the goal line to set up Oliver Ekman-Larsson. So this ain't on him. And I can't really point the finger at any other players on Florida who might have, like, other than maybe Montour and Bobrovsky having a bad night. Nobody else looked really that horrible.
The crowd was
I
awful.
heard it was silent in that building.
It was the quietest I've ever heard an arena for a playoff game, maybe even a regular season game. That first period, it was a fucking funeral home in there. I've never seen anything like that.
Before the game or when they went up 2-0?
During the period, I remember Pasha looked at me and Merles. He's like, "You can hear a fucking pin drop in here right now." And
Before the game, excuse me, I'm feeling the effects of this week-long bender with no sleep. Before the game, unbelievable, tons of energy. The energy in the building was, we're seeing the Stanley Cup tonight and being presented to the Florida Panthers for the first time in their team's history. And the Connor Brown goal, yes, that took a lot of wind out of their sails, but they're probably like, hey, we're still on the power play here. We haven't had a horrible start, but the minute that second goal was scored on the power play, that's when it was really like, oh my God. This building is shook. And then especially after that third one, and we haven't really talked about that third one, but we talked about that flip play that they started doing quite a bit of in the last series against Dallas. Well, what do? They put it in Fogel's corner, and who does he end up fucking beating that puck? Forsling. He fucking hunts that motherfucker down and gets it to the right guy, Mcdavid, and boom, in the back of the net. That, to me, was the stinker from Bob. That's not the Bob we're used to seeing. Like, Bob is normally low. Remember, we compared him to 2012 Jonathan Quick? There, it looked like he had the fucking Draisaitl legs going. He had the fucking the chopstick dance going, in which another guy I heard is battling through injury right now. That's just kind of the rumor mill as I get to Edmonton. Whit, I've said the last couple of podcasts, like, he doesn't look like he's skating like himself. He's had a few games where he's put up numbers that he's supposed to put up, but he's clearly battling something that has put a lot more weight on the back of McDavid to carry this team.
Yeah, Leon, definitely. It's he's just missing that extra step, right? That, like, when he's able to blow by guys, he doesn't have that right now. He's injured, no doubt, but there are so many people injured. So it's like, it's really hard to even talk about things like that, because I would guarantee every single guy's battling something, some more serious than others. But what's great as an Oilers fan is the PK remains awesome. Like, to get shorthanded goals, forget giving up power play goals. Like, you're actually scoring shorthanded. You're doing an awesome job on that. But the power play had to get going, and they got the 5-on-3 goal and the 8-1 win. But then they get two. Then they get two in Game 5. Now it's like, okay, now every single time a Panther goes to the box in Game 6, it's panic time, where we've seen all these Oilers power plays the last few years just not only either score or create momentum. And it's amazing to see this team come together. And there's just so much left to be said for the Panthers, because this is a team that lost in the final. Like, it's not a fluke that they're there. They have such a talented roster. They need their goalie to play better, but the Panthers, they need one more win. So it's still like, oh my God, we've come so far as the Oilers have, but we're still like what seems like miles and miles away. If they can get Game 6, which also I've read, teams are 0-3 in the history of the Edmonton Oilers in trying to win a Stanley Cup in Edmonton. So kind of similar vibes to Carolina in 06, where they went back and Oilers dusted them. It was 4-0, kind of the similar game and crowd to Game 4 of this year, where it's like the team, they're not winning. The Oilers are winning this game. So I can't wait to see how this plays out. I just can't believe what's happened. I can't believe how quickly this thing's turned.
How did you feel about officiating in Game 5? Do you feel like Edmonton might have had the advantage? It felt like, obviously, you're in Florida, so the crowd's going to bitch regardless. I would say clearly a little bit of undisciplinedness from Florida, and that's something that they're going to have to tighten up. You can't take 5 fucking penalties against the Edmonton Oilers. They'll make you pay. They got to go back to the Dallas Stars formula of only giving them like 2 or 3, especially earlier in that series. That's how you're going to win, especially at the way that the power play is clicking right now. Did you feel like Edmonton had the advantage that game, not being the jock sniffer?
A little bit, but not enough where after the game you're like, oh my God, the refs were brutal for the Panthers. Like, yeah, I would say I would say that they were at the advantage, but the Oilers had the puck more. They were skating more. They controlled the tempo of the game. When that happens, you're going to get more calls. I guess, yeah, if you're really nitpicking, they probably were gifted a little bit, but not enough where after the game. If you're talking about the refs there, it's like,
Yeah.
I want to go back though, Biz, to you mentioning the setup of the families and everyone coming in for game 4. And we saw that. Remember, we went down for the third period and we saw the whole family section. It was kind of outside in whatever that area is called. But do you have to do that? Like, I guess you're up 3-0 and you're like, we're gonna get one more. We'll bring them in. I that's now what happens in the NHL. If it's a clinching Stanley Cup Final game, everyone's flown in. They get jets. I'm just like, I don't know, man. Just get the job done. Go party at home with them for weeks. I don't really get that. And I'm wondering, if you're saying it's a smaller group, are they not doing it now for Game 6? Like, are all the families going back?
No, I from my understanding, if families want to go and all that type of stuff, obviously their kids can buy them tickets, but everybody's kind of on their own. They don't want any of the distraction. My understanding is what the wives and girlfriends, and they took care of all that stuff for Game 4 to bring them in. Clearly, Game 5, everybody's probably already in Florida to begin with, but once again, as Mess said, it's like, fuck, you're at home. You're worrying about the post-game party. Like, everybody is now there again. You don't want to fuck that up. So now for them to be able to get back on the road with, and we go back to the Milbury, the distractions, and RA, I think you already chimed in with it, but it's more of the like, guys, this thing isn't locked up. We all want to have a party, but we can't do that if we don't win one more fucking game. You guys stay back. You guys worry about setting things up here. We're going to go to Edmonton and handle business. And I'm not going to be on my phone worrying whether you got your tickets or you're in the right section or whether your flight got in on time. And we're going to win a fucking hockey game. And then we're going to bring that thing back to Lauderdale. And then we could party and have a good time there. So that, to me, like you said, Whit, is you're trying to be sensitive to bringing your family that helped you even get to this moment. But at the end of the day, like we talked about, it can become a bit of a distraction. So they're going to get right back to focusing on the prize. Did you see Paul Maurice's post-game quotes?
No, I was actually looking for. It's been
basically
crazy in this house.
I don't know if the reporter asked them and used the word deflated. Yeah, I think we got it here.
5 and I'm good with so much of it. Like, I feel right about it on the bench. The bench is right, and we had a bunch of things kind of go against you, but they weren't thematic to the game. I mean, I think we gave up 18 rushes in the game prior. So when I say gave up, that doesn't mean 18 rush chances. There were 18 things that we had to control. There was a third of that. Only 3 of them were 5-on-5. So I was right with what we saw in that game, and that lets you sleep a little better. Right, and gives you a really good starting point for today.
Well, you obviously want to limit odd man rushes, especially against a team like Edmonton. Like the rate at which they convert is out of this world. The quote that ended up going later on, I think it was actually post game that he made the quote was, they weren't deflated. He said the feeling in the room is they're just a little bit grumpy and pissed off right now, but nobody in that room is deflated and thinks they don't still have an opportunity to win. And a good sign, much like we saw from Edmonton, and I was talking to my buddy Jeff about this, Edmonton turned the tide in that Game 3 in that third period. They scored a few goals. They got a little bit of their confidence, and that's why you hear some players sometimes saying, even if the game's a blowout, let's find our game here in the third period and have something to build off momentum-wise going into that next game. And that started also with the bottom 6 guys in that Game 3. So they got their confidence going. They brought that into Game 4, and then you saw that. So in the last game, they ended up dominating that last 20 minutes, the Panthers did. So now they can build off that, come to Edmonton, no distractions, and hopefully get off to a start in which they need in order to close the series out. I'll go back to what Army said. And Army nailed it. He goes, the keys are, and I think they've done this the last 2 games, you got to get the first goal and you got to score in the power play. That's what Florida has to be focused on coming here, is getting that good start, calming things down, and doing anything they can to slow down the mega church. Because we all know going into that Game 6, and I don't care how tired I was, guys. I don't care if I would have had to hitchhike to Edmonton. there's not a chicken dick's chance I was missing game 6. I was coming back to Alberta. I've hit my Edmonton quota for the year. This will be the last 2-3 days I spend here, other than going to the Calgary Stampede in a few weeks. But I tweeted out, this is going to be biblical. There's no way that McDavid doesn't put on a show.
I can't see them losing this game,
buddy,
dude.
And we were talking about this in the Dallas series, and I don't know if it was something that they did to him. I don't know if it was maybe something nagging McDavid a little bit, but he'd lost that step. He'd lost that jump where all of a sudden now in this series, we're seeing that brilliance that we see sometimes in the regular season where he's making guys look like AHLers. Like he is fucking dancing through guys. That play that he made to set up Perry, that's the McDavid we're used to seeing. And a little bit of a random stat here, not to put salt in the wound. 42 points, I think, currently for McDavid in these playoffs. PLD, Pierre-Luc Dubois, had 40 in all of regular season and 82 games for the LA Kings, who ended up getting dealt. So what he's doing is fucking nuts. Now, what is the record for most points in a playoff run?
47 by Gretzky. And I would think if they win in 7, he's getting 6 more points, dude.
He is.
He's probably going to break it. I also think, and this does not matter, Connor McDavid would puke hearing this. He's the Conn Smythe winner. I think I think there's just what he's doing right now in those 2 games alone in the finals to keep your team alive. Like he's the MVP of the playoffs. Doesn't matter. I don't want to talk about that. But salt in the wound. You mentioned Pierre-Luc Dubois traded to the Capitals. His season this year. I believe McDavid's current playoff points for this year, I think it's more than Nylander's career in the playoffs. It's close to Matthews' career in the playoffs. It's decently close to Marner's career in the playoffs.
Nobody fucking cares. Shut up and move on.
I mean, you brought up other guys, so that's all I got to mention. You talked about Maurice mentioning, we're not deflated. He can say whatever the fuck he wants. The fact those Panthers had the chance to win the cup twice, once in their own building, and they have to get on that 6.5-hour flight back to Alberta. There's no way they weren't deflated. Like just like you're planning a party, you're planning all these celebrations, your family, your friends. Nope, grab a suit, bud. We're getting back on that plane, going up north to a fucking madhouse.
Are you saying Paul Maurice is full of shit?
No, I think Paul Maurice is a very great coach.
No. You're
saying now he's looking for anything, but I think as that game's winding down, they were trying to tie it up, but right when McDavid gets that empty netter, the guys are like, "Oh my God, like we're going back there. We have to go back there." Because if you told anyone in that team that they'd be going back for a game 6, they'd look at you like you were crazy. So the first period is enormous, game 6, but I don't think, like, and I try to describe this. I was talking to my buddies yesterday, like, you don't understand Edmonton in the Cup Finals. Like, this place is fucking insane. And now it's on a Friday to force a game 7 in the Cup Final with the greatest player many people have ever seen riding and running around the ice like he's out there alone. It's going to be insane. I wish I could be there. I can't believe you're there again. You're an animal, but you're going to expect what?
RA, I got to make a confession. I've been talking to Kate via DM, and I kind of think the Oilers might need her to come to that game with us. And I think we're going to need to see those tits on the Jumbotron. But I got to ask you, Whit, are things going too well for the Oilers? Would bringing Kate to seeing those knockers on the Jumbotron be a good thing? Or do you think it's the pop that they need in order to get over the edge to bring this thing back to
only if they're down 1-0? Maybe all of a sudden it's just like a flash show. I gotta say that right now, Kate did her thing. She released that video, whatever, no big deal.
Fuck the hater.
Don't change a thing. Don't change a thing. And it's just like we got to go back and win a home game. And then it turns into 50-50 on the road with the greatest player that I've ever seen. What else do you want?
Did you happen to notice at Game 4 how many guys were pulling up their jerseys when they were shown on the Jumbotron? Guys were pulling their tits out there.
It's a crazy city.
That's obnoxious. showing your
so bad.
Get naked at a hockey game is obnoxious.
No
Don't-
man
Yeah,
can.
who would do that on the jumbotron while choking someone out?
They would cut away right away. It was fucking hilarious. Yeah, Oilers first team to win a game 5 on the road after facing an 0-3 deficit as well.
That's
boys,
wild.
It is crazy after all
That's
these
wild.
years.
I didn't know that. Quickly though, I do have to mention, guys, that if we're talking about, your body and maybe lifting your shirt up, you want to keep your body clean, and that's where Dove comes into play. How about that transition? Dove Men+Care whole body deodorant gives me odor protection and keeps me smelling good everywhere all day. It's suitable to use on my whole body, from my pits to my privates to my feet. My feet are gross. 6 foot and ankle surgeries for this guy, but Dove Men+Care works everywhere. No more compromising between all-day odor protection and caring for skin anywhere on my body, even my most private parts. The new Dove Men+Care whole body deodorant fits easily into my morning routine, and now I won't go without it. Aluminum-free with a formulation that keeps my skin feeling great. It cares for my skin with non-irritant formula and is infused with vitamin E. That's right, vitamin Edmonton Oilers, baby. So pick up Dove Men+ Body whole body deodorant at Walmart or Target right now.
Gentlemen, I think now is a better time than ever to bring on the man, the myth, the legend, the pride of Edmonton, Brett Kissel.
There we go, baby. There we
Go,
go.
buddy.
There he
Let's
is.
go Oilers.
You still floating 9 feet above the ground, though? What, pal? After you dancing in the hallway the other night.
Oh man, I 100% am. Like, it was so amazing to watch the Oilers turn on the Jets the way that they did against Florida. I mean, I think everybody in oil country is still nervous for the outcome. We've got a lot of work that we still need to do. But oh my God, was it amazing to watch, exactly as you said, RA, Connor McDavid do Connor McDavid things and take that team on his back. It was unreal.
How about you getting to the game? What, 40? You guys landed 45 minutes before puck drop. You took a private plane with Jesse. Now, what's Jesse's last name? He was kind enough to give me a ride back home. And how can he afford a plane like that to even bring us around him?
What a good dude, eh? What a great friend to have. So Jesse and Danielle Vanderwerf, they're just our neighbors from our little farm out here outside of Edmonton, just south of us. And so his company is called Heavy Metal Equipment Rentals, and so their big tagline is they just move the earth, and they're all over the world. The biggest dump trucks, the biggest cats, the biggest machinery on the planet. So if you need any kind of big time construction, mining, oil field job done, well, Jesse's your guy. So he's got this, you saw, like probably one of the nicest PJs I've ever been on, like custom to the nines. And he's like texted me that day, says, hey, I'm going to Florida. Do you want to come? And yeah, I do. So away we flew, and doing some events for him. It's just there's nobody cooler than Jesse.
There was no way you were going to miss that opportunity. I mean, you probably grew up an Oilers fan. I think you were born just outside of Edmonton. And based on your experiences, where did that lie from everything that you've experienced as an Oiler fan? Like, do you remember 2006 well? Like, where do you rank it in that realm?
Well, it's definitely one of the best experiences. This cup run is amazing because of all the storylines and everything that's going on, and we have Connor McDavid. The difference between this and 2024 and what we experienced in 2006 is that we got into the Stanley Cup playoffs in 06, one of the last 1 or 2 games. Someone had to lose, we had to win. And we had a great squad, but no one thought we were ever going to do anything. Now, the fact that we ended up going to Game 7 against Carolina was unreal. A lot of great memories. And to be perfectly honest, based on that playoff run, me, my buddy Glenn Choi, my buddy Dustin Willett, Jason Toronto, the 4 of us, we ended up letting our entire high school be changed because of that cup run. We didn't study for all of April, May, and June, and I almost failed grade 10. So because I almost failed grade 10, I barely made it through grade 11, barely made it through grade 12, and I blame the Oilers because all we cared about was watching playoff hockey in 06.
Jeez,
That's unreal.
You all set for tomorrow night? You in a box tickets? What's your situation?
Yeah, all set for tomorrow night. I think we're gonna go back up to the suite and see there. I'm really hoping that Shania Twain got an invite because she might be one of the good luck charms too. Performing a show the way that she did, which was a great show, and then everybody singing "Man, I Feel Like a Woman" when we're up 8-1. Shania's in the building in one of the suites. I hope OEG has reached out to her and her people, said it doesn't matter what it costs or what we need to do, but we need you back in the building.
That's why Biz cut his shirt game 4. Man, I feel like a woman. So he was just feeling that vibe, shaking that ass. And yeah, I was wondering if Shania Twain would be back, but
I got to meet her.
Yeah, we did
really?
get to meet her.
I
mean,
got
she
to
was
shake
like,
her hand. She's like, get this drunken buffoon away from me.
Royalty. Yeah, we were both
It's like,
loaded.
you
She's
on
like, who
Raya?
are these fucking idiots? Why is this guy's
she's
shirt
like-
cut in half?
And she's like, is that our Ray?
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. I think she would have loved that Boston accent from both Whitney or Ray for sure.
Hey, so what? We actually got a few tweets about from some hardcore Oiler fans. Now you have an unbelievable playoff or unbelievable regular season record when you in fact sing the anthem, but maybe not so good come playoff time. So unfortunately, some Oilers fans who are very superstitious say we don't want Kissel doing the anthem anymore.
And hey, if that's the case, because exactly right before I came on, what you were saying with about don't change anything, that is the reality. I would love the opportunity to sing during the Stanley Cup Finals. That would be a dream come true. But it's not about me. This is about the Oilers raising the Stanley Cup. That is all that matters. So if there is even one tinge of truth, which I don't believe that there is, but if there is, then I'm not going to do it. That's why I even signed the damn petition myself to say, I don't give a shit. If this makes the Oilers win, I'll do whatever I need to do. I don't care.
Lay it on the line. You'll start singing rap instead of country.
Yeah, there's only one good white guy doing rap, and that's Eminem. So it's not going to be Kissel.
Is it me? Oh, go ahead, Biz.
I was just going to say, since we're on the music topic, what are your plans for this summer? Like, I know that you started your early career. You signed with a big label company and then you ended up going independent. So you do a lot of this stuff on your own, which we got a chance to talk about on the plane, where you organize your tours and you kind of have this mom and pop style setup, much like the Spittin Chiclets podcast.
Well, it's really cool what you guys have done and the brand that you've built, and doing it honestly just through hard work. There's an entrepreneurial spirit that is deep inside each and every one of us. Doesn't matter who's listening to the podcast, doesn't matter where we come from or what we do, but also being an Albertan, I know that it's just part of my genetic makeup. So when I had the opportunity to buy myself out of my record deal and buy my rights back, that was an opportunity I wanted to take. And I loved my record deal. I really did. But at the end of the day, after 10 years being with the label, we had a team that was so incredible, that my own internal team that I've hired, that we said, we can do this on our own. So with us doing that now, it's really exciting to now achieve, success in this way and actually get to keep all the money. So that's a really cool aspect of it too. But I'm still friends with everybody at Warner. Warner was a great label, turned me into a star. But being independent now, there's a lot more risk, but obviously there's a lot more reward too. And our summer's going to be great. Calgary Stampede is one I'm really excited about. I leave to Montreal right after the game, a game 6, to go to Victoriaville in Quebec to perform there on Saturday. Calgary Stampede, July the 4th, I'll be kicking off the Stampede at Cowboys. And like I said, Big Valley Jamboree is one of the best festivals in Canada. It's just in my backyard in Camrose, Alberta. So I get to open for Keith Urban that night. And it's going to be a good show.
That's awesome.
Brett, has there been one play you think's maybe been unheralded for the Oilers during this run so far?
That's a great question. Honestly, here's the thing. Stuart Skinner has gotten a bad rap, the first couple games, and whether it be media or Twitter or friends or fans or whatever, everybody loves to hate on this guy. But we have to understand that he's our guy, and we actually need to support him the best possible way that we can. It's amazing how he's been able to bounce back. Getting pulled in the Vancouver series is something that I'm not a goalie, but you probably never ever want to have happen. Pickard comes in, does a great job, but Knobloch gave him that confidence, saying, we ride or die with this guy. He's our number one. And he has faced high quality goaltending, over the course of this playoffs. Not necessarily nothing against Cam Talbot, but the LA series wasn't that difficult. But Shelovs came in and everybody was saying that he was playing better than Skinner, but we won the series. Jake Ottinger, everybody would say, hey, you know what? If you're choosing two goalies, a lot of people are going to say, we're going to take Dallas's goalie. And then everybody's going to say Bobrovsky's the best. But you know what? We're playing better, and we can do it with Stuart Skinner, and the Stanley Cup rests on his shoulders. We need to support that guy. He is a hero for our team, and I really love him.
Yeah, his numbers in games 4 through 7. Sorry, what games 4 through 7, 9-0 with a 1.56 goals against, a 9.39 save percentage in a shutout. Those are just unbelievable numbers. Obviously, later in the series, he gets better. Sorry, what? Go ahead, bud.
No, I was just gonna mention, and this is just for everyone, that since Leon had that hit on Barkov definitely hasn't looked like himself, I'd say, right? Like, he made a couple great plays. He made an awesome play. He kind of picked CC's pocket in game 5, and they got a great chance on it. I don't know if he threw it over to Ekblad, but I don't know. Maybe that hit did fuck him up somehow. Because he doesn't look necessarily as he did at the beginning of the series.
So in game 3, Whit, he was pretty solid. But I want to say sometimes these things can be a little bit lingering where you don't maybe start feeling the effects for 4 or 5 days. So I don't know what you've seen, Kiss. Like, you still think that Florida's got their pop and Barkov?
Well, it's a very interesting that you brought that up, because Florida over the last 2 games has looked like they've been really flailing. And that is something that we've not seen the Florida Panthers do the entire playoffs, which is a very unique circumstance for us as Oiler fans to now navigate through. I'm really hoping that our coaching staff and our team doesn't take that for granted and keeps putting the pedal to the metal. Obviously, that's what you got to do. But I wonder if the 8-1 blowout and also coming back into the barn and not giving them what we gave them in the first couple of games, I wonder if that's now changed the mindset. Because what you're saying about Barkov being hurt or possibly being hurt or not playing the way that he is, I wonder if that also is a bit of a mental thing, saying, oh my God, the Oilers are playing this way. We need to make a few adjustments. And now they're the ones who are scared of us. I wonder if that's coming into play.
I think that looking at the series, and we talked about game 1 and how good Edmonton was, and then Florida was awesome in game 2. Bobrovsky was excellent. Florida was great in game 3. It's been a pretty even series. The Oilers have had big-time moments of outplaying them. But now it's the speed of Edmonton. And that was the one thing that we kind of talked about, that Florida hasn't seen a team with this much speed. There might not be another team in the league that's this fast. And what happens with speed? It takes a while. It wears you out over and over and over. And now you've seen, like, all right, well, there's 2 games that they can't match the speed. They were able to early in the series, but now it's like they are chasing the game. And when you chase games, dude, and then you have a guy on the other side like Mcdavid, like, you're always going to be behind the 8 ball. So if that's what Army's thing, and Biz said it already, like, getting the first goal game 5 was huge. If they get the first goal on Friday night, that game's done. I'm saying it.
I'm going to be doing fucking helicopter cock and stands.
Hey, and fellas, the first goal of the game for the Oilers in game 5 was a shorty as well, where you guys have said it, that Barkov just stopped skating. He didn't chase his man, which gave gave Brownie that extra couple seconds to make a great move. But to let in a shorty, like, that's got to deflate the team. And Brown, RA, is another hero for our squad. And Janmark, those 2 guys, we need to appreciate them, and we need to, I don't know. I don't know what the Oilers need to do, but those guys are playing really, really well, and I'm really proud of them too.
I was going to ask you, do you have any pretty close relationships to any of the current Oilers, like especially guys who have maybe been here, at least 5-6 years? I mean, Connor, do you know him well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Connor and Lauren are really good friends of mine and Cecilia's. When he got in September, he came and had a nice dinner at our house, and it was really great to just visit as friends, because you see someone in the family room after, and you give a hug and a bro hug, and then you move on, or we'll see each other in the off season at shows and stuff. But yeah, I've gotten to know the Mcdavid family very well, like all the aunts and uncles and grandparents, and so we're close to Connor and Lauren. Ryan Nuge, we've known him for many, many years. Knew him through obviously Jordan Eberle, who's one of my best buddies. But everybody, you just go down the list. Darnell and Stu, like everybody, we've gotten to know every single person.
Yeah. Brown's been a great story. He's got 6 points in 17 playoff games. He had 12 in 71 regular season games. Also, Biz, just the 3rd guy in NHL history to record shorthanded point in consecutive Stanley Cup Final games. Only the 3rd ever. Serge Havad back in '68, and a guy named Bob Ure in 1970. And the Oilers' first team to open scoring with a shorthanded goal in consecutive games. Never happened before in the Cup. So
wow, all right, bringing the Nuggets.
All right,
that's good. That's awesome.
So, Kiss, we got to ask when the Whit Dog was up in Edmonton. Were you a fan? Was he a whipping boy? Did you cheer him? Boom. Well, we got to bring this up after the Jumbotron the other night.
He wrote
my jersey. He's wearing my jersey right now, dude.
Yeah.
That's
so,
right, Whitney.
My brother does have a number 6 Whitney. My brother and I have an extraordinary jersey collection. We've got jerseys that we're very proud to have, and jerseys that we have no idea why we even bought them, but we've got them. But yeah, my brother's got one of your jerseys. We were very happy to have you come and be a part of our team there, because we were looking for anybody who had experience and anybody who had played high-level hockey to come into our young Oilers team and help us figure some shit out, because those are really, really tough years. And so I'm really happy that you were part of our squad for the time that you were. And man, did you ever get a great ovation? Like, you and Biz got a huge ovation on the Jumbotron, and Zach Cassian that game. Like, those are the 2 biggest pops that we've had the entire playoffs.
I think Cassian ended up getting the best pop. It's probably because of that fucking tan he's got on his forehead from riding
his new jibs. His jibs are incredible.
Yeah, his teeth were he looked like a Hollywood star. I saw him.
I go, who's your dentist, buddy? Mine are yellow as shit.
Sean Avery calls them movie teeth. I think I need to get a set of those big chiclets. Okay,
I thought you already got some jibs, Biz. No, your jibs are just naturally that good.
I got a bridge right now, and like right now it feels like it's getting a little loose from all the
yeah, just what we need, Biz, to get better looking and get more chicks.
Sometimes it can make you worse looking, though. I've seen some jibs that go real bad.
Well, I just signed up for a 2-for-1. I got the teeth and the nose getting fixed. I'm gonna end up with a Michael Jackson nose and these big fucking chompers on my teeth. But Kiss, we're big hot take guys here on this podcast. So give me your hot take going into Game 6, and then give us your prediction on how the game's going to play out. What's going to happen? What's been building up in your mind is what you think is going to happen at the mega church come Friday night.
So this is what I think is that this is going to be Stuart Skinner's game. So I talked about Stuart Skinner. I think this is going to be Stuart Skinner's game where Florida wants to end it. Florida's mad now. They're angry. Tkachuk is probably embarrassed with the big prediction he made that didn't come true. So I bet you we are going to have this storm from Florida that's going to be ridiculous. And it's going to be Stuart Skinner's game to steal. To win the Stanley Cup, I think the Oilers have to win in 4 different ways. I posted this, a few weeks ago, where Stuart Skinner's got to steal a game. And that's the game that we're going to see in Game 6. We need to have a blowout, which we've checked that off. We need to have a hard-working blue-collar game, which we kind of had, in Game 5. And then we need an overtime winner. And I think Game 7 is going to go to overtime.
I do too.
And I think it's going to be Zach Hyman who's going to score the overtime winner on an epic McDavid play, and he's going to shoot. And Zach Hyman's going to just get this, and he's going to get a greasy rebound. And the boys are going to throw their gloves, and we're going to be jumping around in the suite. I'm going to be crying tears, and I'm going to be hugging like that. Zach Hyman's going to score an overtime winning goal in Game 7.
What a picture you just painted. Holy
I'm not kidding. Like, just think. And I said on another episode that Game 7 of the Cup Final has never gone to overtime. Apparently, it did. I think was it twice, the 40s? Maybe. It might have been like the 40s or something, though. The last time a team came back from down 3-0, basically, in 42 or whatever it was when the Leafs did. Thinking of Game 7, thinking of the Oilers getting this Game 6, going to Game 7 and going to overtime actually makes me sick to my stomach. Like, imagine sitting there watching that. Like, I can't even really think about that. Like, you'd be ready to puke the entire time. Imagine the arena, imagine the players. The least nervous people would be the players. They'd just be going around playing. The fans
without question.
I don't know if it'd be like, I don't know what I'd do. You could have a heart attack watching that.
Honestly, you really could. And I've got this anxiousness in my chest thinking about it right now. That potential. That being said, like, I don't know how a player can control the emotions. I don't know how a coach can help control the room going into overtime. I know this is all hypothetical, but if you're going into overtime in the Stanley Cup playoffs, let alone the Stanley Cup Finals, let alone Game 7, like we just described, Whit and Biz, I got to ask you, how do you calm your energy and how do you stay in your body?
I would just put
because you guys are NHL stars. I would never know.
7 loads in my belly button pregame
Biz
nap.
would be like putting a mushroom in at the second overtime intermission, playing the tunes in the locker room.
Yeah, definitely a lot of micro dosing that entire day. Maybe a little hot yoga where there's a wicked lot of fat and ARA. Maybe just to really calm the nerves. But other than that, maybe there's a Thai massage parlor in town that if I was a Florida Panther, I would probably hit up, get on the road, try to calm the nerves. I like your prediction, but I know I was wrong the last couple pods, but my prediction is we're getting so excited and we assume it's going to be an Oilers win, and Sasha Barkov's going to figure things out and he's going to steal that Conn Smythe from Connor McDavid. I think Barkov's going to have a hat trick. I think it's going to be a 4-2 win with an empty netter, and it's just going to be a very sad.
This is game 6? This is game 6?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes.
There it is, boys. Clip it right there.
We're
guys, going back to Florida for game 7.
No, the magic's over. It's all said and done. That's my hot take and prediction. It's like, you can go back.
I thought you were going to pick the Oilers.
That's very nice, I guess.
You said that last. No offense, Kiss. No offense. I'm just saying, I know what's going to happen. Biz Stradamus is back. Sasha Barkov is going to go back to that mean 200-foot game. He's going to gobble them up. Connor McDavid's going to have no ice, and he's going to disappoint.
Hey, Biz, I can see if it's going to go down, it will go down that way. I think that's I hate the prediction. I hate it, but that's all I'm going to say. I hate it.
Yeah, McDavid, he was plus 7-1 last week in the Conn Smythe. He's now minus 200. He's the favorite. Barkov is 3-1 plus 300. Bobrovsky plus 750. Matty Tkachuk 30-1. Every other player after that is 300-1 or higher to win the Conn Smythe Trophy. I mean, you'd have to have like back-to-back hat tricks to beat any of those top 4 guys. But did you put any money on any Conn Smythe action? Kiss? Did you take it beforehand?
No. I haven't at all. When I'm gambling, I just like to gamble and play cards. I like to play crib and play blackjack. That's it. I don't do any sports betting yet.
Wish I could say that. What do you do for pregame? You hit a bar, or you just kind of like low key keep the nerves down, or what?
It all depends. I mean, I'm a dad of 4 kids now, so sometimes I'm putting the kids to bed and then I'm getting in the truck and I'm heading to the rink. But we'll always usually meet at the JW for a drink. My dad and my brother have been with me this whole playoff run, which has been really great to experience that. My dad saw things in the 80s. Was a big part of those epic playoff runs, with Gretzky and Mess and all those guys. My brother just graduated high school, first year university in 2006. So he got his time to party. And now me as an adult, I get to enjoy the 2024 Cup run. So it's been great to have us 3 amigos go to a few games and have some fun.
Nice.
Do you have an all-time favorite Oilers story? Like maybe an interaction with one of them, or like a funny thing that ended up going down randomly?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, one of my favorite Oilers memories that I ever saw was my brother and I. We were sitting front row at Rexall Place of the second deck. So really, really good seats. We had season tickets that year. It's I think it's 2006 or 7, and the Oilers are playing the Dallas Stars. And we've got about 10 seconds left, and Patrick Steffen goes into the empty net. And Peter Labardius, I could quote his commentating. He says, and Patrick Steffen goes in and he's going to ice it, or at least I thought he was going to ice it. Oh no! And Bergeron passes it up to Ryan Smith, who takes a check, gets it to Hemsky, and Hemsky scores. And Ray Ferraro, that was his first year, I think, doing color commentating. It says, Patrick Steffen, you should be ashamed for what you just did. Can you believe what we just saw? That does not belong in the National Hockey League. And my brother and I, because they scored and they tied it up, we're going to overtime. My brother and I were jumping so hard that we almost fell over the balcony. Like we were this close to dying because Patrick Steffen missed the empty net. So that was probably one of my favorite Oilers memories. We saw Sam Gagner get his 8 points. I was there when Ebbs took that his very first goal, the toe drag. That was huge. But an encounter I had with Wayne Gretzky was May 1st, 2017. We've talked about it a million times, but when my microphone didn't work, I didn't really realize what had happened. And Dave Semenko and Wayne Gretzky were right there in the hallway going back to the Oilers dressing room. And they were the first 2 guys I saw. And Semenko put his arm around me. I've known him for many years. Put his arm around me. I only went up to his belt. He was so big. And he said, well, that worked out for you. And Wayne Gretzky looked at me and says, hey, Kiss, I got an idea. Maybe you should try not singing more often. So I thought that was a pretty cool little line, and then we just went on our merry way.
Wayne can throw daggers, eh? He's got some
He's a
chirps.
funny guy.
Oh, he's so funny. He's quick. That's
Yes,
unreal.
Kiss, dude, we appreciate you coming on, buddy. This has been awesome. All right, you got something else for him?
Yeah, just one anthem question. Is it me, or does it seem like the anthem for the other country gets sung much quicker? For example, down the States, the Canadian one gets done a lot faster, and vice versa up there. Is that just the way I'm hearing it, or is there some validity?
I agree with you. Yeah, the American singers are gonna really breeze through "O Canada" super quick. Whereas up here in Canada, we like to breeze through the American one because we've watched so much sports over the years that when an artist, unless you're Carrie Underwood or Whitney Houston or Chris Stapleton, sing the anthem as well as you can, but sing it fast. And my dad says, sing it well, sing it fast, get your ass off the ice, let's play hockey. So anybody who does a 2.5-minute version, it bugs me.
Yeah, sometimes I bust the rhymes out there. Go ahead, Biz.
Yeah, and just the last thing, I know you mentioned, I forgot the name of the song, but it's been playing a lot throughout the playoffs on Sportsnet, where they're doing it in those opening game montages, and you've been having great success. I think you said over 1 million streams already. What's the name of the song that you'll be traveling with and playing throughout the summer?
Oh, thanks, dude. Well, it's called "Let Your Horses Run." So it's brand new. It's only been out a couple of weeks, and it's already top 20 on country radio, which is the fastest I've ever had a song reach top 20. So I'm really, really excited, and it's a big moment in our show. We've planned a lot around "Let Your Horses Run." So the video comes out in a couple of weeks too. So yeah, thanks for letting me give that song a plug. I'm really proud of it.
No problem. And we appreciate you coming on. We know you're a massive Oilers fan. It was great to get to know you a little bit more on that plane ride. And we'll see you game 6, man. I think that roof is going to pop off, and it's going to be a special time.
It's going to be unreal. Thanks a lot, Biz and RA and Whit. Guys, it means a lot to me. So yeah, let's go Oilers. One win at a time. And Biz, I hope you're wrong. I hate your prediction.
No worries. He's always wrong.
Our pleasure, pal. See you tomorrow night. All right,
great.
boys. We're going to send it over to a sponsor. We'll be right back. All right, folks. Before we go any further, here's a few words from our friends at Kraken. Today, we're talking about Kraken, one of the OG crypto platforms. These guys have been around way longer than the hockey team, for over a decade, in fact. And Kraken's world-class security is like having an all-star goalie protecting your assets 24/7. It gives you peace of mind when it comes to trading. With over 190 cryptocurrencies available, there's something for everyone here. Or maybe you're looking for new ways to approach your strategy in crypto. The Kraken Learn Center is an awesome educational resource for all experience levels. So join the 10 million plus clients already using Kraken's intuitive platform to buy crypto. Go to kraken.com/chiclets and see what crypto can be. Not investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Hey, Busy Boy, did you guys really stop in Red Deer for fuel on that PJ, or were you just making a joke on the text thread?
No, we had to stop in Red Deer for not only a little bit of fuel, but I think we had to drop one of the people off on the plane, and they had a little business to attend to. I think they were like buying cattle. So it's just like, I mean, you can't script
dragging them back to Alberta.
This has been the craziest cup run going. And boys, it's so fun being back on the sauce and being able to enjoy it as a fan. And this is delivered. And like I said, after game 4, when we had the whole crew on, we had Army, Merles as well. It was kind of just like, it felt like it was going to be the end in game 5, right? Where we got to celebrate the last game in Edmonton on a special season, but they have completely revived this series. Knobloch has made tons of adjustment after adjustment after adjustment, and these players have responded, and we find ourselves in an unbelievable situation going back to one of the meccas of hockey. So I'm so thrilled. I can't wait to celebrate it with all the fans. I'm going to be hitting up the Moss Pit. Who knows what else we're going to be doing now. Ray, I did ask earlier, and we kind of got sidetracked. Do you think that Kate should get the nod to go to game 6?
I mean, I don't know whose call it is, but yeah, absolutely. I was going to maybe work on that a little bit later. I'm going to see you probably in about 12 hours. I got to head to the airport in a little bit. So, yeah.
You're going to Edmonton?
Yeah.
You think he's not?
Yeah. Fucking right, buddy. Yeah.
You know what else?
What is your flight path?
I got a 4:00 flight to Ottawa, whose airport is from 1962. Switch planes there to Edmonton. I get in about 10 o'clock tonight, Edmonton time. And probably see Biz over at Joey's Bell Tower.
Are you going to game 7? Is game 7 on the table too, all right?
Fuck yeah, guy.
I'm going to game 7. I have to.
You're going?
Absolutely.
I have to. If they
I
win,
got to go back to Florida now. Oh my God.
I think we have to.
Oh,
Game
God.
7 Oilers Cup
I gotta
final,
log
dude.
into my Ryer app again.
I'll just have to
Florida.
go to Vegas from Florida. I'm sure my wife's gonna love this one.
Speaking of festivities, I'm actually going to the Snoop Dogg show tonight too. Yeah,
Oh,
good
shit,
buddy.
I wish I was up there.
Snoop
I
Dogg's
know,
in Edmonton.
Snoop, it just so happens he's throwing a concert here tonight, the night before Game 6. So he'll be rocking his Oilers jersey, I'm sure. I'm actually buddies with his one of his right-hand men and a guy who's in charge of his merch line. He does all the death row stuff, and they actually just did the collab with a bunch of the hockey guys. They did one with Wi-Fi in Montreal. They did one with Ryan Reeves. And I want to say that there's a couple more guys. Maybe Max Domi got in the mix. Yeah.
Rock, maybe.
I think George LaRock, they just released one too, who I'm sure will be at the show tonight. So I'm actually going to get the opportunity to go down and smoke one with Snoop after the show.
That's unreal. That's cool.
Doesn't he smoke like 50 to 60 joints a day? Wasn't there like some story about that?
I don't know, but I have a buddy here who rolled. He has like a special 7-gram joint, like it's basically a fucking cannon. So we're gonna bring it down after and present it to him, and we're just gonna hot box the green room.
That's unreal. He must be staying for the game though. No, is he gonna stick around?
When I talk to him, I'm gonna say you're crazy if you don't stay for this one. But I'm pretty sure that his manager said that they have to go because they have another show like the next day. They have a show Friday. They got to be somewhere on Friday. So unfortunately, because having Snoop in the crowd for that, imagine the pop that he would get on the jumbotron, blowing out fucking weed smoke. He comes out. Could you imagine like jumbotron if that went down?
Holy shit! I wouldn't know which way to look.
Paul Maurice is on the bench. Like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah, we're not deflated. We're not deflated.
My brother smoked Snoop 2 ounces biz like 25 years ago when Snoop was in town. Paulie Walnuts got him a couple of ounces. He was staying at the Boston Harbor Hotel, and obviously a long time ago there was no dispensaries yet, and he needed a couple of Z's. So the bellhop knew my brother, called him up. My brother got a picture with him. He didn't smoke with him or anything, but hung out in the room with him for a couple minutes. Got a picture with Snoop Dogg, hooked him up with two ounces.
I mean,
you like must feel a whack.
You must feel kind of like Snoop Dogg on the road because most cities you go, you have somebody dropping you off free stuff. Now, I can't imagine to the level of Snoop Dogg and how much free weed he gets wherever he travels. But, I mean, you got to feel kind of like him, though.
Geez, I never really thought of it like that. But by the way,
especially after this past week, RA.
Well, I mean, a lot of friendly people with the weed up in Canada and wherever else, Florida, very generous listeners of the podcast here, G. But no, Snoop, he paid. I mean, I think it was like $3.50 a Z way back in the day. They weren't cheap. It was the hydro stuff. But I never thought of it like that because, I don't feel like Snoop. I mean, other than being stoned a lot. But no, it's our listeners are the best, man. You got to put the bat signal out, or they just come up, they hand you their vape pen, gummies, weed, whatever. Like they're just fucking, they're awesome.
Speaking of our listeners, we'll actually be hanging with them in Vegas next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. We'll be at Stadium Swim at Circa, a little Pink Whitney meet and greet at Stadium Swim. That's going to be unreal. And then on Thursday, the next day in Vegas, we'll be doing a Pink Whitney bottle signing starting at 1:45 p.m. at Lee's Discount Liquors located at 4230 South Rainbow Boulevard. See you there, Chiclets fans.
So we're basically going from Game 7 Monday, flying to Vegas Tuesday, and then we got sandbaggers and interviews lined up. So this is just your wife's gonna divorce you. You're gonna be living on our
me, obviously.
You're not gonna hear from me or see me for 2 months.
RA, speaking of the single life, anything you want to talk about?
I mean, you can ask me stuff, but I'm a gentleman. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I'm not one to kiss and tell if I even did kiss. So,
Oh, what a gentleman you are!
Up the group chat, fucking 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, that's the boys 5, 6.
I
six
sent
of us.
I sent an emoji smiley face for every time I made her.
Come on, don't throw him in the bus here. Don't throw him in the
bus. That's the RA. This has been an incredible cup final.
Can't do this right now. Can't do this right now, boys.
It gets grossed out thinking of me fucking pouring Gatorade, let alone me fucking getting it on.
Wait till you see me and RA and Kate's sex tape coming out. They're gonna play it on the jumbotron. That's how they're gonna get the crowd pop.
The only thing that could stop the Oilers from forcing Game 7 is you and an RA in the same sex tape.
I don't think. I mean, we got the chat going. Did you guys want to take a few questions from the chat, or did you guys
Well, we
want to
got
wrap?
some
How did you
NHL
guys?
news.
A lot of hockey news. Tons of hockey
That's
news.
right. Okay,
Oh,
let's
okay.
get to
I don't know
that
if you guys-
first.
Absolutely. Calgary sent goalie Jacob Markstrom to New Jersey for defenseman Kevin Ball and a conditional first in 25, top 10 protected. Flames are going to retain about a third of his salary as well. He's got 2 more years left at a $6 million cap hit. Ball's going to be 24 next week. He was Arizona's second-round pick back in 2018. Played 148 games over 4 seasons with the Devils. Biz, I thought the return was a little underwhelming for Calgary. I mean, Markstrom's a fucking top-flight goalie when he's on. And I don't know. If I'm a Calgary fan, I'm expecting a little bit more here, no?
I thought all the moves they'd made prior to this, they did excellent on how much return they got and managing their assets. I don't know how much the lack of return here played into the fact that Markstrom was not happy about how the situation fizzled out towards the end of the year. He basically said, don't fucking call me or talk to me unless you have a deal. And then they thought that they did. They did talk to him, and then it didn't end up going down. So that was what he'd asked for prior. And then it aggravated him to the point where it kind of, I don't know if it like hurt the relationship, but it definitely pissed off Markstrom to the point where he was vocal to media about it. So maybe the maybe lack of willingness to want to come back to Calgary and then kind of having to get rid of the situation played into this. But, you know, I think that Kevin Ball is going to be a great, like 5 defenseman, a great big shutdown defenseman. I think that the high end for him is probably like a number 4 who complements on the second pairing to a guy who's a little bit more offensive, a guy who could fucking box out and be a real hard, heavy guy to play against. So maybe they see value in that, and the fact that I don't think he makes a ton of money and probably will be locked in at a very fair price given the fact that he's restricted. So maybe they found value in that, and the fact that they already have a few defensemen that they're paying a decent amount of money and that are locked in. But I'd have to agree with you. I was a little disappointed in the return that Calgary got, especially at the fact that they're retaining salary.
That's what I was surprised about.
Huge pickup for the New Jersey Devils. Like, this is a massive for them. That is one component that they needed in taking a step in the right direction, solidifying their goaltending, getting that experience, and also like a little bit of leadership in that locker room. Like Markstrom, as you know, Whit, he's kind of a presence, like when he walks in, and that's something that I felt that they lacked, and especially a number 1 goaltender, and that's obvious. And how many years left on his term before we hand over to Whit? I want to say he's got 2 or 3.
2 more years left. He's got
that's a good little window there to maybe even get him locked back in if he provides what we expect him to in New Jersey.
And the first round pick, I mean, well, it's top 10 protected, but I would think with Markstrom and if New Jersey can stay healthy, they have a good chance to go on a little run next year. I know I hate saying that with Pasha somewhere on this stream, but that pick could be a late first rounder. You're not that worried about that. You got all this young talent you need. You have all these guys. They have guys that aren't even on the team yet that they're already planning for a couple years from now in Jersey. So Calgary, it's just rebuild time. I mean, maybe they can do it a little quicker than you've seen other teams have to go through that, but it's going to be a tough couple of years there. I bet you they're hoping that when their new arena opens, I believe it's going to be 3 more seasons in their current one, that maybe when that new arena opens, they're ready to kind of get going and go on a little bit of a run and start things over. But Markstrom's going to be huge. I've always loved this game. Let's see if he can kind of be consistent throughout the next 2 seasons. I think sometimes there's been drop off year to year, but I love him as a guy. I think he's a great goalie, and that's exactly what Jersey needed.
Well, before you go, RA, I was just gonna, or actually, go ahead. We'll talk about it after.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, it's pretty good budget and for Jersey too. I mean, you got a number 1 in Markstrom, Jake Allen. I mean, he's a damn good backup. He was great for Montreal the last few years, making a combined $8 million on a cap hit, $6 million in actual dollars. So you got a bona fide number 1 and a damn good backup for $8 million. That's good work by Fitzy.
Great
Hughes
point.
makes fucking $8 million too. It's like, what a
Yeah.
deal that was.
What
do
a
you got
deal.
for us, Busy?
Well, no, just a great point that you ended up bringing up there. Like, it makes the Jake Allen move last year make a lot more sense.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was like, it felt like too little, too late, but they clearly were just looking towards the future in what was this year. Now, I think that we have that piece of shit Pasha on. So I mean, we might as well get what he thinks of it. But if we are going to hear him, please play the disclaimer.
Warning, the following statements are about to be made by a deranged Devils fan. The views expressed are his and his only. Take everything you hear with a grain of salt because, remember, he is a deranged Devils fan.
There he is.
Oh,
You think
What's up, fellas?
What's up, TMZ?
Yeah, I'll cut to the chase. I think it's a great move for Jersey. You guys have heard me talk about it now for almost a year. They need a goalie. When things were getting desperate this season, I even said, I don't care if we overpay. So it's nice to see them do it with such a reasonable return. Everyone was talking about 10th overall pick, throwing Nemitz's name out there, which was just crazy talk. So to do the deal without giving up those two, even Holtz, I still think they might flip Holtz for another piece, whether it's a forward to play with Jack or, a D-man. But like you said, Biz, they get a 2-year window with Markstrom. Worry about, I know that's like everyone's like, get a younger goalie, set him up with the timeline of the young team. Whatever, get a goalie for these 2 years. Because what the alternative was Saros, obviously a great goalie, but you had to pay a lot to get him and then sign him for 8 years at a crazy cap hit. So I think another bit of tidy business from Fitzy, exactly what the team needed, and a big step towards rattling off a couple of those cups I mentioned.
Are you sad to part ways with Kevin Ball?
Not really. I mean, he's a big body, but he didn't really use his size as much as he should have. He didn't have that snarl that he should have played with. And like I said, with some of the other names that were floated out there, Holtz, Nemitz, things like that, you got to give up something to get a player like Markstrom. So I think, they do need size on the back end. I think they'll be in the mix big time for Zadorov or Tanev. But it's the price of doing business.
Where are you right now, Posh? Still in Vancouver?
Back in Vancouver, yeah. Long travel to yesterday, and then first thing tomorrow, back to Edmonton for the big Game 6.
Who's your wingman?
Who's my wingman?
Memes.
Oh, Memes is actually in Vancouver too. Yeah, Memes came here. He's crashing with his
Memes
buddy
is in
tonight.
Van.
He's in Van right now. Yeah. So God knows what he gets up to tonight, but yeah, he'll be coming tomorrow to Edmonton as well.
All right, buddy. Well, we'll see you there a little later, a little tomorrow. Any other stuff for Pasha, Biz, Whit, before we send this motherfucker off?
No, fuck him.
Speed.
Nope.
Oh, they took off RA.
Well, you guys, clean it up. Another big trade. I don't know if it was because he didn't like the new Kings logo. I don't. G just sent it over. The Kings, they're redoing their
Oh, I love that. That's their old one. That's awesome.
Yeah, it looks like they changed the font around a little bit. But either way, big old trade. Less than a year after handing over 4 assets to Winnipeg to acquire Pierre-Luc Dubois via a sign and trade, the LA Kings have already dispatched the 3rd overall pick from the 2016 draft, sending him to Washington for 34-year-old goalie Darcy Kemper. This is PLD's 3rd time being traded in fewer than 3.5 years. He's heading into the 2nd year of an 8-year, $68 million deal. His no-move clause kicks in next week, so Kings beat the buzzer there. Darcy Kemper won the 22 Cup with Colorado. He's got 3 more years left at $5.25 million. Our buddies at Empty Netters had a great tweet. It is astoundingly tough for the Kings that PLD, Alex Iafallo, Gabe Velati, Sean Dursey, Rasmus Kupari, and a second rounder just turned in to Darcy Kemper, which I don't know, man. I got to put Rob Blake under the microscope a little bit, I think.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time. And like, you need a goalie. It's similar to Jersey, LA. We need a goalie. Well, this guy lost his job to Charlie Lindgren this year. Like, you're not exactly going out and grabbing Markstrom. I just think it's wild what's happened. And I wish I knew the exact numbers, but why not just buy him out?
No. Well, I think that this move ends up I think it's a great move for both teams.
You think it's a great move for LA?
Listen,
it doesn't cost them anything.
Listen, the fact that what you just saw on the screen and what they essentially gave up for Darcy Kemper, absolutely not. Those were horrible moves. But for them to be able to get away from PLD's contract based on what we saw last season and kind of what we've seen in the past, right? Like, never really any long periods of sustained dominance. He did have one good playoff with the Columbus Blue Jackets. But we saw even in Columbus, like that shift where he was straight-legged the whole time and wasn't really given much effort. Lot of talks this year, apparently, and from what I've heard, going into the coach's room with McClellan trying to figure things out. And like McClellan wasn't like rude or overly aggressive about it. I think he was just basically trying to show him examples of like, you just have to like dig in and play it at a harder, more aggressive level. That was something that we didn't see. So at the fact that we saw it all season long and then in playoffs that way, they needed to part ways with him somehow. So from my understanding, they're not retaining any money either, right?
Nope.
They are getting rid of that. So now you have, I want to say Darcy Kemper has 3 years left on his deal and he makes $5 million.
$5.25, yep.
If him and Talbot can share the net and be a good tandem, that is, they needed to solidify goaltending from an overall stance. I don't think Talbot was horrible against the Oilers. I don't think he's the answer. I think that Darcy Kemper had a little bit of success in LA. We saw him in Arizona after LA. That's where he had come from. There is game in Darcy Kemper. Like I have seen him. I've seen him steal plenty of games. Mind you, that's when he's getting peppered with 40, 45 shots a game, and he's feeling it because he's seeing so much rubber. But at the fact that you're able to get rid of what 6 more years or 7 more years of PLD and only have to have that many of Darcy Kemper at that cap hit, that is a win. So now you can go use that money to fill in other areas and hopefully get guys back who can bring what to the table that those other guys that were listed that they got rid of to bring in PLD.
I just think it's, maybe I'm crazy here, but Dubois got 3 60-point seasons. He's 25 years old. I just don't think like you can completely write this guy off yet. I could be proven completely wrong here, and I know it was a brutal year, but it's just, I don't know. You're completely calling it in with him. Like, who's to say like he couldn't turn it around a little bit?
Because if once July 1st hits, if they make that gamble, they're stuck with him. In my opinion, I think it's the right move to move off of him based on what I saw.
I can see that.
It was more of a, if he wanted to be there so bad, and this communication with the coaches in which they're trying to say, hey, we need more from you. We need more from you. And anybody watching this or listening to this, I've heard that PLD is a great guy. Like I heard there was no issues in the locker room or with the players from like a personal standpoint. Maybe they had issue with what he was contributing to the table based on what he was making. And once again, all of us and people watching right now, they watched him play. The lack of effort after having these types of conversations with your coaches, that to me was what was concerning. It's like, man, there's a loose puck battle. Like go in there and fucking dig and go get it. And
yeah,
the
you're
fact,
huge.
And you're huge. A lot of just reaching for pucks, like never really truly digging in, like the straight-leggedness. And I go back to this a little bit, like not having leverage on making these high-risk, low percentage passes cross ice. Guys, I watched a lot of Kings games. They were one of my 4 teams this year. I was just overall not impressed with what he was bringing. So for me, the risk was if you're wrong and you think he's going to take that jump, and you talk about these 60-point seasons, like, Sure. And that was also in a young man's game where you hit a certain age and all of a sudden you start slowing down. And that's what I saw creeping. I also, though, think that this is a good move for Washington because you don't really have much there. Like they don't got much. They got a lot of young guys in that lineup. They didn't have much scoring overall last year. I want to say they finished the season with 2, maybe 3 guys that hit 20 goals. I think Dylan Strome did it. Ovechkin did it. And I want to say it was maybe Mantha who had it, but he ended up getting traded. I might be wrong there, but they might have had 3.
I got a quote here from Caps GM Brian McClellan. This acquisition brings in a talented 25-year-old with immense potential to become a top-tier center in the NHL. With his size, exceptional skating, and high hockey IQ, we are confident he will thrive in our organization. With
I don't know about
he's not an exceptional skater. Like what the fuck is he watching?
That's spin doctrine. But this was actually another tweet from our buddy Jeff Marek. If you ever wonder why some players get chance after chance, remember this hockey saying: a small player has to prove that he can play. A big player has to prove that he can't. I never heard that one before somehow, but
yeah. That I think that more so lived in the past, whereas now teams and GMs are more receptible to like drafting and allowing small players to have the reins. not having to prove maybe as much as they did. Where like back then, if you drafted a guy who was 5'5", he'd have to fucking get the shit beat out of him in the AHL for 4 years, light the league on fire to maybe get a sniff. Whereas, now it's not like that. Like you see guys like Stankoven, I think he played like maybe the full year in 1 year in the A, and boom, he's up and they're giving him all the ice in the world because he deserves it. But he's not. Pierre-Luc Dubois is not an exceptional skater. And that to me is the biggest risk element as to why LA shouldn't have kept him. This is a fast game now. Maybe he's going to go off to, who do we have on? Was it Alex Tuck, who talked about his skating coach and how he helped him, especially when he had the puck on his stick? And he's one of those guys where you see when he gets going, you're like, oh man, he's fucking moving good. PLD needs to dig in and have a huge offseason and come in. And I hope that he does it. And I hope that he goes over to Washington and makes an impact. But this is like a business decision, and I would have made the same one that Rob Blake made.
Whit, do you think this might be an example or a case of a guy who maybe doesn't necessarily love the game? He just happens to be fucking awesome at it, but doesn't always apply himself?
I can't even go there because without knowing him, it's not fair.
Okay. All right,
no doubt there's confidence levels involved. I think that's business argument, though, that when your confidence is lacking offensively, just work your dick off, go run people over. So that wasn't happening. So if you're like grinding and working hard and forechecking and not scoring, it's a lot different than the shift we saw back in the day and then some of his, games this season. So speaking of a business decision, though, that leads us over to Barclay Goodrow. I mean, Chris Drury made that's a business decision. That's a cutthroat decision because from everything I'm hearing, he had a 15-team no-trade list. San Jose was on there. And Drury said, all right, well, we're just putting you on waivers. And San Jose claimed him, and he can't be happy about that one. You feel bad because this guy, well, also Rangers fans were begging for this guy to be like cut from the team mid-season. Now they love him because of his playoff success, but he's gone. And Chris Drury made a decision that definitely wasn't easy to do, but that's a part of this business where you say, oh my God, things are good. You're in New York, you have a good playoff, and boom, you're going to the worst team in the league.
People are also trying to bring up the fact that like those two guys are buddies, right? Drury and Greer are pretty close.
BU helping BU, yeah.
So like, how do you feel about that? Are you okay with the fact that conversation took place and essentially this guy is now, so there was a loophole in going to a team that he had part of his no trade list? Like, how do you feel?
Yeah, he had a no trade. That's why you always want the no move. The no move, you can't even be put on waivers. You can't be bought out. You can't be traded. Nope. And the no trade, buddy, we can get rid of you another way. And it's just, that's like where you see this side of it. And you're like, oh, it's just so cutthroat. But Drury thinks, listen, we need some money to be freed up here. He had a good playoff, but I don't see him in our future. He struggled all season. You're gonzo.
What was I going to say?
And we didn't have to give up anything.
I don't know. I think the Caps might. Do you think? I go back to that trade real quick. Do you think the Caps might have some up their sleeve, like possibly moving to Dubois at all? Like in other words, like
no. I think the Caps are trying to get a little talent around Ovi till he breaks this record, and then it's going to be ripped down, and they're going to be horrible for a long time. Yeah, I think, honestly, the Washington Capitals right now, and Spencer Carberry did this incredible job, and somehow they got in the playoffs. Nobody knows how still, but this team it's on a downward trajectory, and the entire franchise is basically moving around Ovi breaking Gretzky's record, and then they're starting over. That's my opinion on it.
I view it as a no-risk move for Washington, and the fact that, like Whit just said, they're trying to get Ovi to the record. There's going to be a rebuild process. You're going to have to get to the cap floor. So why not take the swing on Pierre-Luc Dubois? Maybe going back to those 60-point seasons where all of a sudden, I think he's making, 8.25? All of a sudden, in a couple of years, if you got a second-line center, putting up 60 points, if you're paying him 8.25, it's not that bad. The problem with it in LA is the window of them wanting to win a cup is shrinking at the fact that Doughty and Kopitar only have a few years left. So they need to go address what they can fix that team with now, as opposed to Washington just wanting a competent piece to get to the basement floor. And who knows, maybe hitting a home run, the fact that he goes and has an off season to remember and goes back and find his game. Now, Whit, you also brought him back up. Like, if I was being challenged and called out and kind of being like, I don't want to say mocked in the media, like if you're PLD, you can't tell me that you didn't see the noise in the rumblings all year. There's no way that you can ignore the amount of disgust that. Why wouldn't you go out there and fucking show some anger and grab a guy?
That could be RA's thing where he's just like, dude, I'm making so much money. I don't really care. That is a fair possibility. I'm not going to sit there and say like this guy blatantly doesn't like the game and is collecting a paycheck. But Biz, what you're saying brings up a good point. Like, say a guy like Drew Doughty, like if he was ever being called out, like he'd go fucking fight someone or do something. Like there are plenty of guys in the league that would understand what was being said and the questions reporters are asking you and be like, all right, fuck this. Like, I'm going to do something. And he never did. So you wonder now, maybe another change and you figure it out.
Yeah, clearly an issue with passion, I would say. And just to clarify for our listeners, San Jose claimed Barclay Goodrow off waivers. The Rangers had waived him. He's got 3 more years left at $3.6 million, a modified no trade clause. So basically the Rangers, they get almost $13 million in cap space right now. That's a lot for that team that typically spends a bunch of dough. Like we said, he was on the no trade list. 31-year-old forward. He signed a 6-year, $22 million deal with the Rangers 3 years ago. So see what happens there. Another move, Ty Dellandrea, San Jose. I'm sorry. Ty Dellandrea, Dallas traded him to San Jose for a 4th rounder and 25. He's a restricted free agent. I was surprised by this one, Biz. I thought this kid was a young building block, for the future with Dallas, but apparently not. They moved
well, I mean, if you go back to playoffs, like they had a ton of depth, right? So don't necessarily disagree with you, but I feel like Dallas has those types of players at their disposal. And once again, I like this move for San Jose because you're putting respectable bottom 6 guys around where it's going to take a lot of pressure off of the high-end draft picks that they will eventually have coming in. So did we lose Whit? Is Whit done for the show?
Yeah, Whit's got to go do unnamed show now. But I do have a little news, major news, actually, some would say. Chiclets Cup Ontario registration opens up at 10 a.m. on June 25th. barstoolsports.com/events. This is going to be an insane tournament. We have basically like all of downtown booked. Means is the king of London, so we know the right places to go, where to be, when to be there. Potential, there's potential talks of, I don't want to give too much away, but this is going to be an unbelievable weekend. The first time we brought a Chiclets Cup to Canada. I can't wait. RA, you've been to London. We did the test run last year. We went and saw it. It was incredible. The people, the places, the bars, the food, everything. I can't wait to get there. It's going to be fun, boys.
I think this will be a Canadian version of Buffalo because Brad Jones, the guy who helps us set these things all up, like we went to Buffalo back-to-back years just because of how unbelievable that whole setup was where it was centrally located, where in London, they're going to roll out the red carpet. My understanding is there's a strong possibility of us doing a live show even to kick things off where there'd be like half the crowd would be all the people who have signed up and then also locals can come. So London, Ontario, we're going to have a blast. We're going to be going to all the bars on that one strip. We're going to have some unbelievable ball hockey being played. I think we're going to try to open it up to more teams, given the fact that it is in Brad Jones' hometown, where he does have access to more resources. There is also a plan in that top division. We're going to try as much as we can. It's not cheap, but we're trying to get Sport Court for the top ball hockey division in order to make it a little bit more legitimate and draw in some like higher rated teams. Last year when we opened up that top division, they were the team from Ottawa who ended up winning it. We'd never even heard of.
You have the best ball hockey players in the world coming to play in this thing. It's insane.
Between the big deal selects, between Noseface Killer, that piece of shit, and I'm sure he's going to be flip-flopping another team. He might even have 2 teams in the goddamn tournament. I don't know what's going on with that guy. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make this a top-tier ball hockey tournament for the top-end guys, but also all these other lower divisions like the B, C, and D, whether it's roller or ball hockey, come out, have fun, come for some laughs at a live show, come play some ball hockey. We'll get shit-faced at night. You guys can get some merchandise and create some unbelievable memories with friends.
Gonna auction the boys off again, too. Like last year, we had a lot of fun. Me and RA got auctioned off to one team. Colby and Merles got auctioned off to another. Hopefully, we can have a few more guys from Barstool there. Maybe Barstool Chief, Rudy Riggs. Have those guys there. We can auction them off as well. Raise some money for a good cause and a good charity and get to play with some of the boys.
Let's go, baby. London, Ontario. We're coming September.
Wow.
Do we have the official date?
It will be September 19th through the 21st.
Love it.
20. Oh, was it 20? I think it was 20 in the 21st, but whatever. That's what I got written here. Whatever.
Third week of September.
We got a long ways to fucking go. We got plenty of stuff going on in the meantime. We do have another deal here, Biz. The Canucks extended defenseman Philippe Roenick with an 8-year, $58 million deal. It carries a 7.25 AAV. He's only 26. He'll be 27 in October. Has a no-move clause in years 2, 3, and 4. Then a modified no-trade clause for the last 4. This is a pretty good price. I thought this guy his game really fucking stepped up in Vancouver. Playing with Hughes obviously helped him out. But this come out about we have figured, Biz, the money-wise, 7.25.
I would have been reluctant to pay that much. I understand where the market is. That is a price comp to Taves, who plays with Makar. I think that Taves is a better player. I think he's a bit better skater. I think he's got a better shot. And I just think just overall better. I think most people would agree with me that they'd go Taves over Roenick. Roenick found himself in a great situation coming over from Detroit. I think there was a pretty heavy tag to be paid. I want to say Vancouver gave up at least 1 first, if not 2 first rounders to get him. But ultimately, they needed somebody on that right side to play with Quinn Hughes. And it is very hard to find competent right-handed defensemen in free agency. There basically are none of that caliber. I think that the one scary aspect and why I might have been a little bit reluctant to pay him that much money is because I think that you could have got Zadorov on a shorter term and a shorter amount of money. And I really think that this might be the end with Zadorov in Vancouver. And the fact that if you look listen, I'm not a huge analytic guy, but we obviously saw that Roenick did struggle in playoffs. He was not the same player come playoff time. In the second half of the year, he did dip based on the first half of the season. And that based on those deep dive into analytics, he was carried by Quinn Hughes' play. So it's kind of like, I understand they addressed the issue of finding someone competent to play with Quinn Hughes, but at 7.25, and the fact that these numbers are telling you that it was Quinn, it could have been any righty, any decent righty could have had that type of performance.
Do you actually believe that though? Like any decent righty? Like I don't believe that at all.
I think it's so hard to find right competent defensemen who can handle that type of pressure playing in that situation, that I understand the overpayment. But if you're a Canucks fan, I don't think that you can be thrilled about the number here. That's all.
I think you can, just because of all the reports that were coming out. Like Frank Saravelli was, and we said it 2 pods ago, I think he is like the most, him and Elliott are hand in hand with the best reporters in the game right now. And he said there is no chance that this goes under 8. For him to kind of come out and say he fully on believes that this will be a deal over $8 million, and then to come in at 7.25, like the way the market's going, defensemen are getting paid left and right. I don't know. I think if I'm a Canucks fan, I'm pretty excited with this.
I think that that would have been a situation of overvaluing your worth. And I think free agency would have hit and he would not have gotten paid what he just got paid. Obviously in term, because he did get 8 years, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
Like he can only get 7 unless, of course, like on a sign and trade. But I don't think that anyone in their right mind would have paid $8 million for Roenick.
See, I think with the cap going up between Utah, San Jose, they both have to hit the floor. They're so far away. I believe San Jose is 30 mil from the floor. Why not? Why not pay a guy like that?
Because you would have over $16 million invested in your top pairing of defense, which is insane for the fact that they're not Cale Makar and they're not Taves. So like I said, I think that if you have Taves making 7.25, Roenick should be making about 6.25. That would have been me a good number for Roenick. I hope that he plays as good as he did in the first half of last season for at least 4 years on this contract. And then, in my opinion, it would have been worth it. But like I said, I don't think that they're going to be thrilled about this in a couple of years. I could be dead wrong. I'm interested to even hear what the chat has to think of it. Like they might think I'm wearing a big fat L. Canucks fans might be thrilled because of how hard it is to get free agents, especially coming to a Canadian market, excuse me, and especially there. But once again, I think that this is a little bit of an overpayment based on desperation.
I think that Canucks fans are just focused on the rumors that Jake Gensel was looking at real estate in West Van this past week. So maybe that's just me, but rumor boys, Gensel to Canucks.
Guaranteed he loves talk, and I think that he's going to convince him to come over there. And I think that Jake Gensel's the type of guy who doesn't really like the media noise. I think he really liked Pittsburgh, which is not that crazy of a market. And then Carolina. Now you're going into a different beast. So, but he's got the alligator blood that can deal with that, and that would be a huge ad for them.
Yeah, because in that trade, Vancouver got Roenick and a fourth in 2023, and they sent Detroit a first and a second.
First and a second
for last year's draft. This is a crazy number. I tried to bring it up earlier, but McDavid, when he made that sick play that he cut through all the Panthers, he was on the ice for 2.5 minutes already when he made that play on that shift. 2.5 minutes he was out there and pulled that shit off, man. Unreal stuff. Some other good news, Biz. The ratings, unreal right now. 8.5 million North American viewers tuned into Game 5, a 61% increase over last year. The Stanley Cup Final averaging 7.2 million North American viewers, up 64% from last year. That was fucking dynamite, man. I'd love to see the numbers go up. Obviously, great for the game, but I almost shit when I seen that 64%. What else we got here? Celtics. We gotta toot the Celtics one as the Boston guys here. 18th title in Celtics history. Good
Brutal
stuff. Now
final.
they passed the Lakers. Yeah. I mean Dallas. I'm glad they beat Kyrie, but yeah, the Celtics is that good, man. I mean, I'm not gonna complain. It was a fucking brutal final and they won.
All right, I gotta get your thoughts. How do you feel about the Celtics leaving Boston immediately? They didn't really even come back to the city to celebrate. They went right to Miami to party. Part of me feels like you win a championship in a city, like you got to go celebrate with the fans. Like there's some, like the fans pay their hard-earned money to go watch the games, they buy the merchandise, they support you all season long. And I just think of like when the Bruins won it in 2011, they had to be told to get the fuck out of the city. When the Celtics, like, they got to be told to come to the city. They got to be forced to the city. So I don't know. I don't really like it. I get it. Go to Miami. That's more their speed, but party with the fans.
I completely agree. A bizarre move, RA. I think that if you're doing it for a quick rip, though, then they're going to come back and give the city the love. But I think that it comes off as a slap in the face to Boston. It's not like you're fucking going back to like no offense,
Cleveland.
To Utah. It's not like you're going to Utah where you can't even get 2 beers at the same time. Like, come on here.
I mean, yeah, but historically, though, like, I think hockey's almost an exception. Like, that's every year we see it. You know, Washington a couple years ago, Boston, like you mentioned, these players go out and they get loaded all over the city or nearby and hang with the fans. I don't think we see that as much. I know baseball sometimes with the Red Sox, we've seen, guys getting drunk and run down the street, but I don't think we see it as much on the sport. So, I honestly didn't even think of it until you mentioned it. So, I can't say I'm too surprised at that at the end of the day, I suppose. But, Busy boy. Well, what do you got, G? I think we're gonna
no. Go ahead. All right.
Busy boy. What are you gonna do all afternoon in Vancouver, man? You got while the time away? You gonna stay in and take it easy tonight, or what?
So Pasha and Memes flew to Vancouver. I'm in Edmonton. I don't know if you just messed up the name of Vancouver. That's okay, buddy. You've been on an iconic run, and you still got 2 games left. And the fact that you're schlepping all the way over here is insane. But like I said, I'm gonna go play a little golf today, and then go to the Snoop Dogg concert. That to me, I've never seen Snoop Dogg perform live, so I'm really looking forward to it. Harrison Cates and the Cates family have been so nice to us. They've rolled out the listen, if I was the kid of a billionaire, I would probably be a piece of shit. This kid is the nicest kid in the world. So they've done such an incredible job of raising I think Chloe's his sister, Harrison. I don't know if they have any other siblings, but just such nice people, and I can't wait to go to the show with them and take in this special moment. Cates bought the team, I think, in 2008, right? Why are you laughing?
Because I have to tell this hilarious story. So me and Posh actually went over to Harrison's house in Edmonton and played some street hockey while we were in Edmonton. And leave it to Pasha, just rifles a fucking shot over the net, it hit crossbar, over the net, into the driveway, and all you hear is smokes one of the beautiful, beautiful cars in the driveway. Leave it to Posh, the year of Pasha continues.
The mush, man.
Jesus,
Cates bought the team in 2008, guys, and what he's built here and created here, like to make that in-game experience the way that it is it's just amazing. And you know, it's Edmonton, man. There's not much to do. So to be able to go to the mega church and get to celebrate these games and two of the best players on the planet, it's been heck of a run in ownership for them. And
well, he's building up that ice district too downtown. Like you can see it's coming. Like in a few years, it's going to keep going and going and going with that big mega church and now the ice district. I think Edmonton's on the rise.
It's on the rise, baby. Good Canadian city.
One last note before we wrap up. We want to say thanks to the folks over at Fort Lickadale on the beach for hosting our meet and greet the other night. Great time, great spot. Did you know that place just opened not too long ago? Fort Lickadale. The guy said the name was around the 80s. I guess it was a nickname back then, but because we mentioned it so much the last couple of years, that was the inspiration for naming it.
They took ours or everyone's.
Well, I think they rejuvenated interest with the name was why they picked it. But it was around. It wasn't like we invented it, but he said because we were talking about it so much that they got an idea to use that for the name. So again, just want to thank those folks for hosting us the other night. Great time. Fort Lauderdale was awesome. And Biz, we might be back Monday. See how it goes tomorrow night.
Chiclets fans, we love you guys. It's been a heck of a year. I want it to keep going. We love you. And if you're in Edmonton, come find us. We'll be buzzing around the Moss Pit. Come say hello. It's been awesome interacting with all you amazing people, bringing the energy night in, night out. You guys are what keeps us going. So shout out to Pink Whitney, all our other sponsors, and we love you.
Love our listeners. They're the best.
Love you, Chiclets Nation.